So start working that out for me.
All right, let's start from the beginning. And why are things accelerating? Because Donald Trump went and visited the King of England. Every time we get together in such a way that I finally get a metaphor or something and that resonates with you, right? So for me, in recent terms, I've come up with the basic framework of we have three different wars that are being fought in three different theaters. It's one war being fought in three different theaters, conceptually at three different strata.
It's been about 4 weeks ago, but
Mhm.
it seems like things have sped up so much, and it's always constantly every day, if not every week, there's a change. There's something, and it's
Right.
not just something to have you on. It's like a whole bunch of stuff that is just very impactful. Tom Luongo, Gold, Goats, and Guns. Good afternoon to you, my friend.
Hey, Andy, is good to talk to you.
It,
It hasn't been very long either, but it's always a good time to chat with you. Always.
Thank you. Likewise. And one of the reasons, there's many reasons I have you on. Number one is I really like you. Um,
Well, it's always good.
yeah. Number two is, yeah, you were on recently. It's been about 4 weeks ago, but
Mhm.
it seems like things have sped up so much, and it's always constantly every day, if not every week, there's a change. There's something, and it's
Right.
not just something to have you on. It's like a whole bunch of stuff that is just very impactful.
Mhm.
So let's start with that. Actually, we'll start with two things. It's like everything is sped up.
Yep.
Why? Number one, and then what's gold's relationship to all of this? Because it has been on such a tear, and it's like every single I have you on, gold has been on such a tear. So start working that out for me.
All right. Let's start from the beginning. And why are things accelerating? Because Donald Trump went and visited the King of England.
Okay,
That's
I'm interrupting you. I am
sure.
so glad you started with that. I just got chills here because I've been thinking about that. And
Because you weren't sure which direction I was going to go,
yeah,
and
what the,
as we
okay.
spoke about before we hit
So,
record.
my
Yeah.
audience, I'm interrupting Tom, and you're going to give me a bunch of nasty comments. I'm so sorry, but oh my gosh, let's go there. Go.
Okay. So let's start with the beginning. So Donald Trump goes to visit the King of England. Now, if you back up for a second, you'll understand um, that everything Trump is doing in American politics, be it from an American perspective, be it fiscal policy, monetary policy, trade policy, foreign policy, or domestic policy. It's all in service of one overarching goal or overarching conceit. And that overarching conceit is how does the United States finally um, make good on the Declaration of Independence? We've been fighting the British for 249 plus years now. They've been bitter enemies ultimately of us since Cornwallis surrendered to Yorktown. I've been saying this for how many years now? 5 years? 4 years? It's true. Now, when I first said it, it was kind of an instinctual thing, and then over the time, I've just kept adding um, to that palette of information as to why that is brings more and more true over time. Um, and we start there. So, why are the British our enemies? Because we're the colonies that got away. Why are the British our enemies? Because the U.S. Constitution puts the people above government, above the king, or above the the oligarchy that runs the world, of which the king is only one part. So, in some ways, as ultimately what I'm trying to do here, folks, is tell you a story of the history of the world and how it existed now in different ways every time we get together in such a way that I finally get a metaphor or something and that resonates with you, right? So for me, in recent terms, I've come up with the basic framework of we have three different wars that are being fought in three different theaters. It's one war being fought in three different theaters conceptually at three different strata. You've got the layer that we interact with most of our commentary with on a daily basis, which is what I call middle management. That's the Jim Comeys and the Pelosi's and the Hillary Clintons and you know the Earth. I wouldn't even call the Keir Starmers, right? The, those people are on middle management. Their job, they are order takers. Their job is to implement the orders coming from uh, that are coming ultimately from the high table through upper management. And upper management is people like Gates and Soros and Klaus Schwab and all those people and Larry Fink, right? And some people used to be middle management like Fink, and now they've been graduated to upper management, right? Austin Carsters over at the BIS, upper management. Mario Draghi, upper management. Okay. Ursula von der Leyen, middle management, right?
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. I'm tracking.
Now, who are we actually fighting? Well, we're fighting the high table, Davos, the Rothschilds, whatever you want to call it. I don't give a shit. I just don't care anymore. Like everybody has their version of what the high table is consist of. And in my mind, I say all roads lead to London, or really Amsterdam. Other people would say no, all roads lead to Rome. Fine, if you want to place, you want to trace it back that far, you go right ahead. I'm not interested. I'm going to stop at where I can control it, which is that internecine moment of history, that internecine a constant squabble between continental Europe and conquering of England and back and forth, right? And ultimately how the crown fits into that. And if you've listened to or talked to my friend Ian Burlingame about this stuff, you know what his position is. I happen to not completely agree with EM about English society versus Greco-Roman society and civilization, but that's a different concept, conversation for a different day. But the basic framework is correct, which is that ultimately what we think of as the system, as the power structure that runs the world and that we think we interact with isn't really that. It doesn't, we don't really see it all. We don't know who the real movers and shakers are because they're all basically organized crime.
Right. Yes.
Okay. And they're organized crime, and it doesn't matter if we're talking about the Chinese triads or the Russian mafia or the Albanian mob or the gypsies or whatever. I pick them all. Everybody's got one. The Mexican cartels, right? The Hong Kong triads, the Chinese triads, the Japanese yakuza, yada yada yada. They're all in cahoots at some level with what you can popularize. And I think John Wick did a nice job of popularizing. It's the high table. This amorphous,
I like that term.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this amorphous group of shadowy figures that command the assassins, command and own the commanding heights. They have this complete unseen layer of the world that exists, and that we don't see it. We can't. And the old phrase used to be, real bankers don't have Wikipedia pages.
Right.
Okay,
Right. Right.
that's the first time I heard this thing in my idea. So why are we accelerating? It's because Donald Trump went to England, and in my mind, gave the king terms of surrender, and the king said no. Now you could also make the argument that the king is a captured pawn because the crown is actually captured by Britain's managerial state, which is really controlled by Davos and the continent. And you can go, that's what it's all about. And that the king, would like to free himself, but he can't. And Trump said, these are the terms of surrender, and the king accepts, but he's powerless to stop it. Now, and then so that's and that tracks with Trump's relationship with Queen Elizabeth, I think, more than I think it potentially tracks with King Sausage Fingers, Charles III. Now, got to get the stogie relit, folks. And yes, to anybody commenting, does Tom smoke cigars while he does these things in order to take a drag to collect his thoughts? Yes, I do. It's actually a very important prop because with a brain like mine, if I don't control the ADHD, then it just spirals off into la la land.
And for those that don't smoke, tobacco's great for thinking. Great for thinking. Go ahead.
That is true. Yeah. And will destroy the rest of my body, but my brain will be fine. Now, that being said, trade-offs.
Right.
Okay.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do? Live forever? Dad used to smoke filtered cigarettes. Well, but what do you think? I'm not 91 anymore. Like,
Right.
you wake up one day, it's like grumpy old men. You wake up one day, you're like, like Burgess Meredith. Like, one day you realize I'm not 84 anymore. No,
Right. Right. The
Did you
great
mount
George
a son?
Burns.
Like, yeah, it's the great Burgess Meredith. Actually, it was a brilliant. Like the last thing he did before he died was
Right.
him and Jack playing Jack Lemon's dad, and a very and an otherwise forgettable movie with Walter Matthau called Grumpy Old Men. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it.
Watch it.
Especially the older we get, it
Right.
becomes more and more apropos every day. So, but you know, that meeting I think was very important, and Trump and company besent Trump. I put Powell in this group as well, and maybe you can even put Jamie Dimon in this group. I'm not sure. I'm still not quite sure about Dimon's motivations over at J.P. Morgan. I believe I've got it right, but I could be wrong. There's wiggle room there. So those guys, along with Stephen Miller and the rest of the cabinet, who are again all middle management, Tulsi Gabbard, Robert Kennedy, all that. They're all ideologically aligned, but they represent an entirely separate group of quote unquote would be oligarchs trying to fix and overthrow the existing high table. Now I think, and that's the high table is distinctly European. Go back to John Wick, by the way, and the entirety of the high table is distinctly European, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
FYI. Now, on the other side of this, now, why is Trump able to have the ability to operate like this? Because why him now as opposed to the presidents in the past who were clearly all in cahoots with the high table or couldn't get out from underneath them? Maybe if you're generous, somebody like Ronald Reagan, right? Why? Well, because there was nobody else to help them. Now, there were two games in town. There was Europe and there was the United States.
Right.
China was still a basket case back then.
Yeah.
Russia was becoming it was already a basket case by the mid 80s, and then became the land of the raped in the 1990s under MI6 and Bill Browder and Edmund Saffer and all those guys. And then Putin comes in and says, puts the line in the sand and says no farther, declaring himself an enemy of these people, and starts to rebuild Russia. Now, once you understand that, fast forward 25 years, 12 years after Xi comes to power in China, after China's been built by the high table to be the next place for them to go, after they loot Europe and they loot the United States, liquidate it like the locusts that they are, and move to China, Chinese said no. That's why Xi was brought. That's why Xi was allowed to come to power. I really do firmly believe this.
Interesting.
And then the three of them together, Putin, Xi, and Trump, in their way, only agree on who they need to get rid of. As long as none of them show weakness, meaning as long as Trump keeps putting wins on the board, or, and he's going to be tested by the other two all the time because he has to. Right. You have to test them all the time. You have to figure out, what their mettle actually is. Because what if, Trump is LARPing as a guy capable of beating the high table? Then Putin and Xi don't, but Putin's targeted for destruction. He's already off the board. But Xi, on the other hand, you never know. Like he might have to cut a deal with them in the end to save China if Trump fails in the United States. So while everybody is all focused on BRICS, which I just don't, I don't really care about, other than that's an upper management level for the Russia, China, Iran alliance, for lack of a better term. The real thing that the high table is worried about is the creation of ARC, America, Russia, China. Okay. Which is clearly on the table. Clearly on the table. Now they're going to fight, and every day every day I say that, and there's always going to be some thing that happens where Trump will look like he's angry with Xi, and he may even be angry with Xi or with Putin or whomever. But the reality is that again, it's just them all testing each other to see, do you have the stomach for the fight that's about that we're in the middle of? If you
Right.
don't, but by the way, don't get uppity and think that just because we're agreeing on this one thing over here, that we're still not mortal enemies on these other things over here.
Right.
You're not going to take advantage of the United States, Xi, and tell us that you're going to put complete export controls on all your rare earth metals, rare earth elements, or, all the lanthanides, or, that's it. We'll just cut off fucking trade with you.
Right. And that's what he did.
That's exactly what he did. And so Xi got told, he backed off. Everything. Now we're back. Now we reset the board, meaning he moved that bishop into enemy territory, and
Yeah.
then Trump responded by telling that bishop, "Hey, fuck off.
Right.
Go back to the other side of the board where you belong."
Right.
Fine. He tested him. He failed.
Right.
He probed, and it didn't work. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
they don't like each other. It doesn't mean sorry. It doesn't mean they don't have a potential common ground in the future. And
Mhm.
everybody's analysis on all this stuff is so goddamn puerile, childish, that we
Yeah.
can't actually, discuss these men like men who are
Mhm.
powerful and who have agency. These men
Yeah.
have agency and power, and you have
Yeah.
to stop acting like you're smarter than them.
Right.
If you were smarter than them, you would be running the country.
Yeah. Right.
How about you assume that they're not idiots and that you're not just here spouting off in public, stroking your ego for either
Mhm.
clicks or subscriptions, depending on who you are.
Mhm.
And let's actually get down to brass tacks and start talking about the real fucking world.
Right.
That's the world I live in. It may sound like fan fiction to those who don't understand what's going on, but I'm telling you, if I'm not any different than I was 7 years ago. I'm doing the exact same thing I did then. I just understand the world better than that. Why? Because I put 100 hours a week into this shit every week. That's why.
Yeah.
So,
And that, Tom, I don't think you get enough credit, because what I really appreciate is the gamemanship
right,
aspect of it, which
right.
nobody talks about the gamemanship, if you would.
Mhm.
And this is gamemanship at the highest stakes.
It is.
And idiots don't get to the top. Idiots don't get to the top.
No, they don't. Now, sometimes the high table puts an idiot in charge,
Right.
and then you realize that
Exactly.
they're only middle management.
Exactly.
They're Ursula von der Leyen,
Right. Or Keir
right?
Starmer.
Or Keir Starmer, or Emmanuel Macron,
Right.
right? Emmanuel Macron every day keeps trying to reach upper management,
Right.
but he's not. He's still a middle manager.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Trump is clearly upper management. The first time he was in charge, he was clearly trying to be upper management, and all the middle managers were running around trying to stop him like
Yeah.
fucking Gulliver. But Trump
And
is clearly freaking upper management, folks.
Trump
If not
being,
now,
yeah,
yeah.
Trump
If
being
not,
Trump being seeing where he was and being who he is, he's getting to upper management, right?
not only was he upper management before he became president, now that he understands the Article 2 powers of the presidency in total,
Yeah.
now he's the high table.
Yeah.
Now he's capable of fighting the high table, the other factions within the high table.
Right.
He's able to fight at that level.
Yeah.
Now look at what he's doing. He's going after upper management.
Yeah.
He's going after Soros. He's going after Fink in many ways. He's going after Bill Gates. He's going after the cartels. He's going after the triads. He's going after MI6.
Mhm.
He's going after every boat hole that City of London is trying to get at. Metaphorically speaking, City of London is trying to figure out a new place to go
Mhm.
as they liquidate England.
Mhm.
And now they're trying to figure out where to go next. They were going to go to the Middle East, Abu
Yeah.
Dhabi, Dubai, Doha.
Yes. Yes.
The gold trade is there. The oil trade is there. They
Yep.
have oil indexes there. They have a gold index there now. They have all the infrastructure for gold vaulting and everything
Yeah.
else.
That explains it. Trump in Saudi.
It also explains why Trump was only kind of angry with Netanyahu for bombing the Hamas leaders.
Mm-hmm.
He was angry at him for bombing the Hamas leaders. He was not angry at him for putting the Qataris in their fucking place.
Yeah. Got it.
We own you. You don't work for the British anymore. And we took
Right.
out and the boy that's on my fucking leash, BB, he just took out all your friggin' Hamas pets.
Right. Okay.
And notice
So
how those guys go away, and now Hamas is willing to come to the table.
yes. So, okay. Work that out for me.
Sure.
I wanted to get there, but you were on such a great talk about
Mm.
Europe, but then you went to the Middle East. So okay.
Okay.
Go
So
there now.
but it's really important that once you understand this, once you understand Israel, Iran, Gaza, you'll understand. I mean, it actually makes
Why?
perfect sense
Yeah.
because let's start with the beginning.
Mhm.
As you know, you've met him, you've talked to him. Alex Craner's argument is very simple: that 10/7 was perpetrated by the British-backed Qatari wing of Hamas.
Yes.
Hamas is not a monolith. There's also the Bibi Netanyahu, kayfabe funded version of Hamas. They're not the
Mhm.
same group of people.
Mhm.
10/7 was perpetrated by the Qataris through their Hamas proxies. Those
Mhm.
were the guys that got blown up in Qatar by Netanyahu,
Yeah.
because those were the guys that actually pulled off 10/7. The problem for Trump was that it got everybody squicked out because he had the peace deal mostly worked out at this point, and that was you could argue one way or the other as to whether or not Netanyahu was trying to queer that deal or not queer that deal. You'll notice how the British keep trying to come in and claim credit for the peace deal
Yeah.
in Gaza. They tried to insert Tony Blair into the mix, and everybody was like, "Get the fuck out now,
Mhm.
now."
Mhm.
But so whatever again, I can spin up two or three different scenarios as to what actually happened when and why Netanyahu bombed those Hamas guys ready to sign the peace deal.
Mhm.
Um, I can make a bunch of arguments, but the net effect was Trump doubles down on U.S. CENTCOM and Doha, gives the Qataris what they want, which is access to F-15s and whatnot. He only gets all of that, and you get the peace deal, and you get and and this is the important part, gets wiped off the maps. Oh no, they were not involved in this at all.
Right.
They get to keep their reputation clean.
Yeah.
But what's the gift? What did Trump get in return?
They're beholden.
Was it just the peace deal?
Yeah.
You work for us now,
That's the thing. They're
not the fucking
beholden.
British. They're beholden to Trump, not to the British.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Get out. No. Say and if you don't think the UAE isn't listening, didn't see all that and go, oh, we're next.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I think we're
Yeah.
signing the deal. I think we'll take the deal to rebuild Gaza. Sounds
Yeah.
like a good idea.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Let's go with that. So now, you don't think again? You want even more receipts on this? Now they're trying to. At the same time, not only were they trying to do that, they were also trying to move into India. And Modi is standing up there in India. And I'm going to get a rash of shit for this. You just wait for the Indian bots to hit this video like a house on fire.
I get
Or
them all the time when I have other people. Go ahead.
like a flaming bag of poo on fire, just to like get it right.
Let's go.
Now, notice how everybody's been talking all of a sudden over the last year or so about how there's all these Indians running all these major companies, mayorships, this, that, everything else, the H-1B visa program being horribly abused. What do you think that was? That was a British operation to infiltrate. Why do you think they're importing? Why do you think Mark Carney is turbocharging and bringing in Indians into Canada? It's to ensure that if Trump does take it over, that it's left with nothing but a bunch of
People from India.
people from India.
Yeah,
Let's
right.
just keep it clean.
Keep it there.
Right?
I knew what you were thinking, but yeah.
Let's keep it. Keep it there. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, right. So now, sorry, folks. It's just the truth. Now,
Off camera. Off camera. Yeah.
yeah, off camera. Off camera. Let's just say it's.
I
Let's just
almost
say
said it too. I almost said it.
Yeah, no, it's just as everything we're about to say is as clean as the Ganges. All right,
Right.
now, I'm scoring a point on myself for that one. All right, now, um, but Modi is clearly being, is clearly playing this game, always ready to spin up a conflict and use a conflict in itself and between India and Pakistan to its advantage. Anytime there's going to be any kind of peace between India and China, the Brits come in and blow up Kashmir and or the other province. It's always a mess. I can never. It'll come to me in a minute. Um, and and don't ever think for a second that the British didn't create Pakistan.
Right.
Whenever they leave, they always leave place and anti-place.
Mm-hmm.
India, Pakistan, Taiwan, China.
Right.
Ready? Ukraine, Russia. Ready for the big one?
Yeah.
Ready? The US and Canada.
Fuck you, dude. I'm gonna leave that in. What? Explain that one to me.
That's easy. It's actually, if you go and read American history, you realize it. That after Cornwallis surrenders at Yorktown, all the British loyalists all fuck off to Toronto, and which at that point was a fur trapping outpost. And
Right.
They all fuck off up there. 14 families. They become the Laurentian elites. They're the foundation of modern, quote unquote, modern Canada. And then we fight multiple freaking wars over the Canadian border.
Right. Explain that, right?
No, I mean, like the War of 1812. That was Canada. That's the only war the Canadians have ever won.
Right.
With the British backing. So the whole thing is Canada has always been the anti-United States.
Okay.
And if you're not sure about this, interview Matt Ehret. He'll talk. You think I talk a lot? Well, Matt will just go for 90 minutes.
It makes sense.
Yes,
it makes sense.
And I'm not. Nothing I'm saying here, I'm going to tell you, is better. I mean, if you don't know who Matt Ehret is at this point, and you're in this space, Matt has an encyclopedic knowledge of the Crown's perfidy as it pertains to Canada and the United States. You don't. And again, like everything else, you don't have to agree with everything I say. I present in the same way. You don't have to believe everything that you don't have to agree with everything that Matt presents. He presents his version of history. I present mine. Everybody presents theirs, and it's eventually you get to the truth, right?
Okay.
But but the core of the argument is absolutely correct.
So there's that moment whenever we talk.
Mm-hmm.
This was that moment right there. And
okay. Andy, I've been here for 18 months. I can't believe I hadn't actually brought this to your attention yet.
You haven't, and it makes sense with everything that's going on in Western Canada, right?
Or Western Canada, Eastern Canada. Why would you bring over Mr. Climate Change himself, Mr. Ex-Bank of England, ex-Bank of Canada head, Mark Carney? Why would you install him in a stolen election?
Yep.
If it wasn't, I mean, come on, let's just not kid ourselves. So, and then literally go look at Canadian immigration numbers for this year. They're off the charts. Like they're trying to double the population of Canada in the next 6 years.
Wow. It makes sense.
So typical, so you have to make Canada inhospitable, meaning
right
for the United States to want to take over.
Right.
Like, if we can't have it, then nobody can. Or if we can't have it, nobody in this case would be, the worst people from India.
Right. I'm just thinking about this. It makes sense.
Now let's take it one step further. Why does Trump want to go back in the bog room?
Tell me.
To support the Taliban as they go on a raid against the Pakistanis. Because the goal is to wipe out MI6 and the ISI for British back, in
that
Pakistan.
was so confusing to me, and it makes sense.
It was confusing to me for about 3 days, and I'm like, oh, that's why. Right.
That's why. And Pakistan. I was like,
and then when the Taliban attacked Pakistan, I'm like, oh, that's why.
That's why. There was another one you did it twice. It makes
we have more.
Let's go.
Okay, so now you asked about gold. I haven't even gotten the gold yet.
I know. Go. You're taking me on a journey. It's enthralling. Go ahead.
Doing happy dance. Okay. So why is gold? What's gold sniffing out? So now the question you got to ask yourself is, well, Trump knows what's going on. Trump wants gold to, Trump wants to remake the United States fiscal policy. He wants to remake trade policy. He wants to remake monetary policy. The world, is regionalizing. But Vince Solanchi talks all the time
Yeah.
about how it's breaking up in the mercantilist blocks, obviously. So
100%.
everybody's scrambling for gold, right? Who do you
Yeah.
think is running? Who do you think is running? Who do you think was running the operation on gold back in February? That was draining the LBMA.
London,
No, who London controls
right?
the gold trade.
Right.
So who was draining the LBMA?
The Chinese, the Russians.
Well,
No.
somewhat the United States.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we did talk about that.
All
Yes.
the money went. All the gold was going into the Comex,
Right. Yes.
and everybody was standing for delivery.
Right.
Now, what we find, and I was talking to Vince about this the other day, and he had a great chart that he sent me on Twitter, and and he's given out to his subscribers, and he's posted it on Twitter in the last couple of days. But he shows like it's like the United States and China are coordinating their gold and silver purchases. It's your turn. You buy some tonnage. It's your turn. You buy some tonnage. It's your turn. You buy some tonnage. And it's like clear as freaking day in the delivery numbers. And so in years past, I used to say you've got Trump on one side, Powell on one side, draining the Eurodollar markets, right? And Putin on the other, draining the energy, draining them on the energy front, and Ukraine is in the middle, and Europe's like a rag doll, and all I kept saying is, "Hey, pull," right?
Right.
Right. Well, the United States and China are doing the same thing with gold and silver.
That's awesome. Think
Right?
about that.
They started with gold. They drained the LBMA of all their gold. Now they're going after. Now we're going after silver. Now, Andy, I don't have time here to summarize what Vince and I did in an hour and a half on my podcast, and I'm not recommending this to people.
I'll link to it.
Yeah, please do. It's episode 233 of the Gold Ghosts and Guns podcast. And I recommend everybody who's a gold and silver adjacent in any way, listen to the podcast, because Vince, powerhouse, phenomenal motherfucker that he is, goes through chapter and verse and explains what's happening at the trader and plumbing level. Trader meaning the trading and the plumbing level.
Yeah.
In the silver market. Because as we were doing the podcast last Wednesday, I noted, we were talking to, like you and I did before the show today, before we hit record. Vince and I always do, half an hour before we even like sit down and do a podcast. So whenever we do a podcast, it takes 3 hours. We only publish an hour and a half of it. And as I was chatting with Vince about what I wanted him to talk about, because I wasn't quite sure what he was seeing, and I'm like, you're going to explain all this. I pop open investing.com, and I look at the spot price of silver, and I look at the futures price, and I'm like, Vince, I've never seen this. Silver's now the spot silver's trading 40 cents above future silver. It's in backwardation. And he went, you're going to explain that. And he's like, and I can. And it's completely different than whenever you see backwardation in other markets. And I'll explain why. And he goes into this beautiful explanation about how the traders hedge, what the cost of carry is, and all of this stuff to explain why a 40-cent backwardation is so significant. And even on that day, it was 40 cents. By Friday, it was $2.50.
I've never seen that.
No one's ever seen it.
Yeah.
You know
That's
why?
crazy.
There is no goddamn silver.
I was going to say that.
Okay, there's plenty of silver to go out there and buy. You can go out and buy Silver Eagles tomorrow.
Yeah.
But you can't there ain't enough 400-ounce LBMA good delivery bars to deliver against the contracts that people are standing for delivery for. And that's the problem. And all the forward production's been hedged out into the future, and there's no gold, there's no silver to go get.
Yeah.
Because it's been forward hedged out into the future at last year's price. Yeah. These guys are all underwater by $10, $12, $15 an ounce.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to stop. My natural reaction after 20 years of having my ass handed to me in the silver market like
I left the
I
silver market. Yeah.
well,
Not anymore.
just
Not anymore. Yeah.
just
Yeah.
in general, like I
Yeah.
learned at the knee of Jim Sinclair. He's like, sell a rhino horn, buy a fishhook.
Right.
Like when the market goes parabolic this way, sell. Doesn't matter if you hit the top or not. And when it goes down like this, buy the bottom, buy somewhere near the bottom. You're going to make money because
Right.
it's always going to at least mean revert, right?
Right.
And
But
go
it's
back to
not.
the linear trend line or whatever you want to call it, right?
Right.
In this particular case, what we're watching is the end of the London paper gold 3-step shuffle.
Yes. It's about time.
This is literally all that shit that FOFOA was talking about 30 years ago. If you're that old in this business,
I am. Yep.
remember that?
I do.
Remember FOFOA?
Yep. Yep.
Friend
I do.
friend of FOA.
Yep.
And that stuff. Now, what's happening is not as dramatic as what FOFOA talked about, which is that the paper price of gold would go to zero and the physical
Right.
price of gold would go to infinity. It was a different time with a different market structure and everything else. He wasn't right about that. He was right about that in conception philosophically, but
Right.
not in practicality. What we're seeing now is actually the FOFOA moment where silver is now $2.50 in backwardation, which at 20 cents a month cost to carry means that silver's in backwardation out to like the middle of 2027.
That's awesome, man. So we got at least a 2-year run here. At least
It's
a dramatic run.
probably. I mean, and then Vince comes out this afternoon and says, if this doesn't like resolve itself in any way, we're going to 100. And I'm
Yeah.
like, and my natural instinct is to say, nah, they'll fight 50 or they'll do this. And eventually they'll raise margin requirements or they'll do
Yeah.
whatever.
That was my
But
instinct.
you'll notice that the fucking Comex isn't raising margin requirements.
Yeah.
Like
Yep. Yep.
they're not doing it. They did it once. It caused a brief 4-hour bear raid in silver. And then it shot to a new high
Yeah.
last week or 2
Yeah.
weeks ago to 48. Now here we are like later. I mean, it's just what you're watching. And I've seen multiple raids on the futures price of silver in order to try and keep it down while the spot
Mhm.
price continues to move higher.
Yeah.
And once you're in that mode, dude,
Who knows?
until they can, so they're just digging a deeper and deeper hole. So let's tie it all together,
Mhm.
right? Let's tie the high table, upper management, lower management, all this other shit that we were talking about together into one big thing. This is something I don't think I've even explained to anybody. I don't think I've done this pattern yet. I may have done it the other night, but I don't think so. There's, here, yeah, I did actually. I did this with the patrons the other day. If you're going to take down the high table, you have to have a strategy.
Mhm.
So the first thing you do is you dry up all the money to the middle managers, right?
Right.
And that's easy. You take away USAID, you take away National Endowment for Democracy, you take away all the public money, all of our tax money that they're using to enslave us to their fucking will. You take that all away from them. It's easy. You just
Right.
Doge, all the grants, all this stuff. The Democrats just handed us the friggin' shutdown, which is the dumbest thing imaginable. But it's not dumb. It's part of a strategy. It's a strategy I think is going to fail. But again, that's another 10, 15-minute digression off of this main point. And maybe we'll get to it later. What's important to understand is that that's the first phase of this. The second phase is to go after upper management's money.
Got
And to go after upper managers. Because when you do that, the high table no longer has anybody
at the head.
to give orders to
Yeah.
be able to implement to make anything work,
Right.
right? So now
Right.
they're scrambling. So that's why Trump is talking about RICO against Soros. That's why he's going after the cartels,
Mhm.
right? They're all
Mhm.
upper management.
Right.
Okay, that's why he's going after Maduro in Venezuela. We're not going into Venezuela because of fucking oil. We don't even use that shit fucking sludge anymore anyway. All those Citgo refineries on the Gulf Coast have all been retooled to handle they handle Russian Urals grade, for Christ's sake? Because the minute we put Venezuela on sanctions during the Trump's first term, we started filling those refineries with Russian Urals, which is medium sour shit. It's not even this like the heavy sour stuff that comes out of Venezuela, right?
Right.
So there's no,
We
there's
can't
no,
even use it. Yeah.
we can't even use it anymore. Like
Yeah.
it's just dumb. It's just silly.
Right.
So again, another strategic moment, right? So think of another strategic play.
Yep.
So we can't use the oil. No, we're not there for that. Maduro is literally running Venezuela as a fucking narco state for the goddamn city of London / the high table. They've been doing it for years, them and the Colombians together, and that's why he's blowing up boats. And fuck Rand Paul if he doesn't have the goddamn stomach for this. These guys all need to get blown up. Doesn't matter if the boat doesn't have any friggin' drugs on it. It's towing a fucking submarine that does.
Mhm. It
Okay?
makes sense now. It makes sense.
So that's why and moreover, he is sincerely talking about, without no shadow of a doubt, he's talking about, I will fucking take out all of this shit to secure the Gulf of America. Because you can clearly see Davos's plan when you start to really look at where all of the blue states are. The blue states, for Christ's sake, are they're
On
trying
the
to
coast.
they're on the coast, the waterways, the Great Lakes,
Yep.
Upper
Yep.
Canada,
Yep.
all the way out to Illinois, the Northeast, the
Yep.
West, the left coast, and then the intrusion into with the Democratic governors in places like Arizona, where all the chip factories are going, and Colorado, which is where fucking NORAD is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
These sons of bitches think they're going to go into open revolt against the federal government. Why do you think he moved Space Force from Colorado to Huntsville, Alabama, where the highest concentration of smart white guys, the guys who put us on the fucking moon?
Right.
Yeah, they're in Huntsville.
They're in my neck of the woods.
Yeah.
So you just touched on something. Go ahead.
The whole point of Venezuela, it's also one of the staging areas that you would, if you want to secure the entire Gulf of America, then you need to have control of the Panama Canal, and you need to get rid of fucking Maduro in Venezuela, so you can control that whole
makes sense, Tom.
geographically. So that's why that's so you've got now Houston, Galveston, New Orleans, Port of Miami, Port of Jacksonville, Charleston. You have to have all that to be able to take trade from around the world in case they are able to like balkanize the United States and we start a fucking actual ground civil war.
Yeah. It makes sense. It makes so much sense.
You have to stop thinking like all of this is just
dumbassery.
Stupid people running around doing stupid things. I know that's the fan fiction that the libertarians like to put out there because they want to think that they're the smartest guys in the room. I got news for you. You're not. You're a bunch of fucking clowns.
Right.
Okay. You're no different than you. And seriously, I'm at the point with them. I'm just like the fucking narrator from Fight Club. I've used this line before and I'll use it again while he's beating the shit out of Jared Leto. And he's like, I was angry for every panda that wouldn't fuck to save its own species. Like, that's what I feel about the libertarians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What got into you? I just wanted to destroy something beautiful, which was the midpoint turn of the movie and his lowest point as a human being. But he wasn't wrong about the anger.
Yeah.
Like, the anger was real.
Yeah.
How he chose to manifest that anger. Well, ooh, that was beyond the pale. The point is, he's not wrong. And I look at that, and this is why I've gotten so freaking angry with these people, because every day they wake up and they come up with some other way to literally destroy, anything beautiful about what's going on out there, including their own ideology, because they destroyed it. Yeah. And they're being burned and they're being sacrificed on the altar of, like, Thomas Massey and Rand Paul are doing more to destroy libertarians than anybody ever could. And so when you ask yourself, why would they act that way? It's not because they're ideologues. It's not because they're beta males. It's not because, no, it has nothing to do with that. I read a great like summary of who Thomas Massey was, and I'm like, oh, he's got like fucking ties all the way back to the goddamn to the same friggin' the same friggin' upper crust, you know. Psst, screams fucking CIA or am I sick? He really does. He just screams it.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. Well, talk about this conflict then about because you see, like I think Trump just as of today, which is this October 10th, didn't he just nationalize the National Guard in Illinois?
I
And
don't know if he did. I missed it. I was really busy today with other things like buying rush tickets and writing the newsletter. So
dude, they're coming, dude. My son is so on board.
I got tickets for Fort Worth.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
He's like, Dad, we gotta go. We gotta go. Anyways,
Well,
I
well,
digress.
yeah. If you didn't get them today, you
We
probably
didn't get
aren't
him.
going.
We didn't get him. Yeah,
Well,
I'm paying a
well,
scalper.
you're paying a scalper.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, but so tell me about that. Is this like is it more chaotic here? What's the plan here domestically, if you would?
Well, the plan. So I know I'm jumping around a little bit. Let's get back to gold just to understand what's going on. The whole point of draining the LBMA is to take away London's pricing powers over the metals and all the strategic assets. They have control over. They created. They took a physical asset, deliverable, an easily deliverable asset like gold, like silver, and they turned it into a paper. A tri-phase paper shuffle for years between the LBMA, the Comex, and SLV, right, or GLV, and now two of those three aren't playing with London anymore. They're just draining the gold into SLV, GLD through the Comex. That's what's going on. Vince and I snuffed this out a couple of years ago. Again, episode 154 of the Gold Ghosts and Guns podcast.
Got it.
Vince and I went over this as well. So I the so you once you drain their ability to control the price of the strategic metals and the precious metals, you now are talking about their ability to control the price of collateral, the pristine
Money.
collateral of the world. So that's why gold had to be drained first. Then you go after silver because it's the most strategic of all the metals from both an energy standpoint, electrical conductivity, all these things. So unbelievably useful. And if there's not enough gold available to recapitalize the world, people are going to start moving to silver.
Yep.
So I'm famous for saying I don't think silver is a precious metal; it's an industrial metal today. But until the day comes when I see a central bank start to put silver on its balance sheet again, at that point, silver's a precious metal, and I'll be happy to say it. But I always gave you the caveat of, always gave you the, when I said all that, I always gave you the, not the caveat, but the criteria by which I would be willing to consider the remonetization of silver. That's all. It just needs to see a stock to flow ratio that isn't 1.
Right. Got it.
Okay. Goes to 2 or 3, I'm good. Like it doesn't have to go to it doesn't have to go to 9 million like friggin' gold and Bitcoin. Right. Okay.
Right.
3,000 tons or 3,000 tons a year versus the 75 billion tons of gold that are sitting around the world in vaults. Now, finish the thought. You take away their public money, then you take away their private money, the $1 trillion a year that they make and organize crime of trafficking kids and children and drugs and everything else. You got to take that money away. When you take that money away from, we take upper management's money away from manipulating markets. Now the high table has to put their seed corn on the table in order to keep the markets from imploding. So what I was saying to my patrons yesterday, yesterday on the market report, because I was just working this through, is think about this. We have two competing forces right now. We have a lot of disinflationary forces that are coming. Yeah. AI is going to wipe out a lot of the white collar, the useless, less than useless white collar jobs that are out there. But the big one, of course, is that Trump's going to cut $2 trillion from the budget.
Yeah.
Now, when he cuts $2 trillion from the budget, that's $2 trillion worth of excess spending, or he balances the budget. There's $1.7 to $1.8 trillion that we were spending to keep markets liquefied. Going to go away. Now, you have to somehow replace that $1.8 trillion. You got to replace that. Now,
where you going? I know where you're going. Go.
And that gold and silver. No, everybody else controls all the gold and silver, so they don't have that to play around with. So how do you do this? You let the price of gold and silver run in order to continue to expand the capital, the collateral base of the existing market
Yes.
structure, right? That's one. That's one part.
Yeah.
The next part is this one's a little bit more esoteric. Where has upper management been placing all of their bets on how to rob us of our agency and to enshrine inflation through all of this COVID stimulus money and the zero bound money that they printed during the ZERP and NERP years? Where did it all go?
Crypto?
Think bigger.
Think bigger.
Real estate.
Yep. Yes.
Residential real estate.
Yep. Think of Blackwater.
BlackRock,
Think buying
Blackstone,
up everything. Yep.
buying up all these single family houses. And guess what? All those government employees that Trump is in the process of firing all have mortgages on overpriced houses.
Think about that.
The price level in these areas is going to drop. BlackRock and Blackstone have been playing this game where they buy a house for 400 grand in a neighborhood and then they sell it to, so BlackRock buys it for 400 grand, Blackstone buys it from BlackRock for 700 grand and then kicks the original people out and then rents it back to them at 3 times the price. And guess what? That house is now worth 300 grand.
Right. Think about
multiply that by 10 million. Now, multiply that by a few million houses, and all of a sudden, they have to take a 60% haircut, which makes housing more affordable for when they re-IPO Fannie and Freddie and loosen up credit terms in the lower middle classes. All of a sudden, my daughter can afford a home.
It makes sense all of a sudden.
Wait, I'm not done.
Go ahead.
So then, in order to stop the deflation of all this shit, what's the high table going to do? They got to feed the gold and silver markets because they're hedged out 3 fucking years and they're trying to stop it from going to $150 a fucking ounce. How do you get them to put their money on the table?
I am laughing.
And they still have to pay for all their Red the Beaner mobs in LA. and all their their Red the Tumblerina mobs in fucking Illinois and Portland. All of a sudden, even Tumblerina von Dry Snatch is sitting there going, dude, I need to get paid. I don't protest without fucking Starbucks.
I'm crying, Tom. I'm crying. It all makes sense.
It's the funniest shit you ever heard.
It's awesome.
And you were worried about whether or not I was going to come up with anything unique today.
Yeah. Okay. So all my viewers and listeners, I told Tom today, and this is really every single time I'm gloriously, happily, very anxious and almost nervous right before we start. And it's not talking to Tom because he's so easy to talk to, but it's like, what are we going? Where's this going to go? Well, you just got it. This is every single one's the best one. This is the best one.
Now, what the best part about all of this is that this entire thing I just laid out, if you followed it all, and God's know if you God's love you if you did follow it all. But if you followed it all, you'll realize what the TLDR is. And this is the way we should actually wrap this up.
Okay, go ahead.
And it's because it'll end on a nice little philosophical note. We have a problem that we have not solved yet, and it's a very big problem. Yeah. And Luigi Mangione is one aspect of this. Tyler Robinson, if he actually did shoot Charlie Kirk, which I do believe for the most part, I'm going with the basic story that we've been told. I'm happy to entertain other interpretations of what happened, but until I see really credible evidence to the contrary, and Candace Owens does not fucking count, then Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk. Now, why? Radicalization, because an entire generation has no agency and feels like they have no hope.
Mm-hmm.
When you do, we are such a perilous state. The high table ran the table on us so fucking bad that we were at that moment where our kids are looking at either thinking Marxism,
Mhm.
unenviable, the unquenchable envy of Marxism seems reasonable because these people are so evil and the grift is so big and there's no way I'm ever going to be able to get my way, and I refuse categorically refuse to give these people a minute of my freaking time.
Mhm.
And I can tell you flat out, not without any political overtones whatsoever, that is exactly where my 19-year-old daughter is. She's like, these people can all go fuck themselves. They're not getting shit from me.
Mhm.
Okay. And
Mhm.
I've been doing everything imaginable to give her a stable uh, platform with which to get out into the world with, even if it
Sure.
means that I have a less secure future. It's that important to me that I demonstrate for her bodily that no, you and I may disagree about certain things, but I have your fucking back all the
Mhm.
way to the end,
Of
right?
course.
No, I know it. I know every parent will say that both in public and private, and mean it, but
Mhm.
not actually
Do
really
it.
understand what that means to do, and or
Mhm.
may even have the means to do it because they've been fucked by it like everybody else, and they don't have 5 minutes to goddamn spare.
Mhm.
So you have that on one side. You have on the other side the sirens call of the hyper individualist libertarians, both of which at their core, forget everything else, they're both nihilists
Yeah.
because neither one is willing to engage at any level with with what's left of the current system to try and find the
Make it
good
better.
in it,
Mhm.
build a new foundation, and then build a new foundation on top of what's left. They see the whole thing as irredeemable.
Yeah.
And we have to, I consider this my mission at this point. I don't
Yeah.
consider anything else my mission at this point, is that we have to communicate that the reason we do what we do, the reason why we advocate for sound money, or we advocate for property rights, or we advocate for gun rights, or we advocate for any of the shit that we advocate for, it's because what we are trying to do is to shore up what's left, build a new foundation on it, of from it, whatever that is, as best as possible to give them some hope
Yeah.
and bring them back from the brink. If we don't do that, we will have failed as fathers. We will have failed as men. We will
Mhm.
have failed as the previous generation.
Mhm.
This is our task. This is our burden. And we either bear that weight or we fucking go home.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to get involved in that fight, if you're only willing to sit back and be a critic, fuck you.
Mhm.
I'm dead serious. I'm at the point now where I firmly believe we have critics and we have architects.
Mhm.
And we all have to be both critic and architect in order to go forward with the future. The critics are out here.
Mhm.
The architects are here.
Mhm.
And the people here need to draw as many of the kids back in. But we have to do that by putting things in place that will improve things. And so what does that mean? That means draining the high table of all their unseen and ill-gotten gains. It's trillions of dollars worth of wealth, dude. It's so much, it's not funny, but it's the real assets of the world. Those have to go away. We have to take them from them.
Mhm.
We have to start the process of making them think they can still win.
Mhm.
How do you get a guy who has more? How do you get an opponent? I had this insight very early on in the Russia-Ukraine war, and I realized that Putin wasn't trying to quote unquote take territory. His strategic goal was a war of attrition against the real enemy, which was NATO. And
Mhm.
you do that by attriting out their political capital, their physical capital, their ammunition capital, all of it, their military capital. You attrit all that out until eventually you just win,
Mhm.
right? But
Mhm.
how do you get a smart opponent will see you trying to do that and then refuse to put anything on the table,
Mhm.
refuse to engage, which is fine because that actually then serves Putin's
It's
um,
objective.
his objective as well in the short
Yeah.
term by minimizing the damage and yada yada
Right.
yada and
Right.
giving him more time to build Russia up, yada yada yada. But it leaves them capable of coming back 5 years from now or
Mhm.
10 years from now and trying again. What he
Mhm.
has to do is he has to wipe them out all of them. And this has been his goals from the beginning. If you read the stated goals of what the the goals of the special military operation of Russia, it is the demilitarization, the denazification, this, all of these things, all real. And the reason is, but the only way you can do that completely, or to the point where it is durable, not permanent, but durable, is you have to make that more powerful opponent think he can still win.
Because he'll destroy himself then.
Because then he'll keep putting more in. If we just do this a little bit more, you put in 10,000 troops. No, but you really need, if you had put in 15, you would have won.
Right.
Keep telling yourself that, buddy. You don't realize that you need to put in 100.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. And I've said this 1,000 times, and they'll say it again. It's the send more cops moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's like from Return of the Living Dead, that horrible little hilarious George Romero send up from 1985, where the kids are having sex in the goddamn graveyards, and the zombies come in, and they turn them all into zombies, and everything occurs, and then the zombies take over the graveyard, and then the police show up, and then there's that great iconic shot of the zombie in the police uniform on the radio going, "Send more cops."
Right.
And you're like, oh
right.
yeah, because they want to eat more. They want to eat the cops, like
Right.
who they bring in, and that's Putin's strategy in Ukraine. That has to be our strategy against the high table.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you trick them out. You've got to get them to. So in the short term, you've got to get them to think they can still win the midterms, outlast Trump, retake some aspect of the American political system, or build a new shining castle of shit in Canada, or whatever it is that they're going to do. Let them keep thinking that. Let them go. Let them say, "Oh, we'll move to Abu Dhabi." Nope, sorry. We'll move to India. Well, nope, sorry, that ain't happening either. And then eventually you corner them in one place where they can't get out,
Mm-hmm.
and then you crush them off the friggin' face of the earth. Yeah. And that's the goal. That's going to be bloody. Mm-hmm. That's going to be rough. And I want everybody to understand, listening to my voice, that if you're not willing to play that game out to the end, I would honestly, I don't want to trample on anyone's free speech, folks, but why are you talking?
Right.
What do you got to say?
Yeah.
Because if you're not helping us in this way, then all you're doing is hindering. Mm-hmm. And that's the critic and the architect. The critic has no skin in the game.
Yeah.
He takes no risk other than, oh, I was wrong. Yeah, well, I didn't really mean it. I don't know anything. I was like, fuck you. Like, you really want to aspire to be fucking Rex Reed from the New York Post, like, or any of those horrible leftist movie reviewers that I read when I was growing up. These horrible people with all these highfalutin ideas who couldn't make a movie, or couldn't like make a home movie that anybody would be willing to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my friend, that is very well said. Very well said. And I am very grateful to go on this journey, march, whatever you want to call it, with you.
So see, I can sign you up then, right, dude? All right, cool. We're good.
I'm in. I'm all in, man. I was already signed up. I'm all in.
I was all in 30 minutes into Pete Hegseth's speech the other day. When you watch Pete Hegseth's speech,
I didn't watch it, but I know
you should watch it. You should watch his patent speech. It's fucking awesome. Yeah. And for the first time in my entire freaking life, I was like, oh, that's a military I'd be willing to join.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll watch it right after we're off. Listen, you need to go. To all my viewers and listeners, I am a Patreon supporter of Tom's, and I'm very grateful. I'll say it that way. Patreon supporters of Tom's. Very grateful, Tom. How can people find you that don't yet? Please support. And I'm asking my viewers and listeners to please support you. Go ahead. Give me your Patreon and your website.
So we start with TFL1728 on Twitter. And where a worse version of me will show up every day than what you just saw. So if this is too much for you, well then, I got news for you. It's probably just as bad behind the paywall. Patreon/Gold Ghosts and Guns. We do the twice weekly market reports and private discussion server for $4 a month, and then after that we add the monthly investor newsletter in for an extra, few pennies on top of that. So that's the gig. We probably don't charge enough, but hey,
You don't.
so
And
it is what it is. We don't care.
And I'm a very
Again, it's about the mission more
Yep.
than it is anything else. If
Understood.
yeah, you can see my porch. I'm not a rich man. I don't really care. I don't really care.
Understood. All right, Tom. Until next time. I'm already looking forward to it. Thank you. Just thank you.
Thank you, Andy. It was a blast as always.
It really was. All right.